Gear up, because this is the Fuel Your Marketing podcast, designed to accelerate sales and grow your business. Let's welcome your host, Arti Sharma.
Hello and welcome back to Fuel Your Marketing podcast. I am very excited for this episode because it talks about money, investment, returns on investment, return on marketing, and what is in it for you. If you're listening as a business owner or a marketer, you are managing small to large budgets, and you definitely want to see what is it that your marketing is doing to accelerate your sales, what kind of metrics you should be listening and watching out for, and what you should be working with your marketing agency to understand how can your marketing investment make more money for you. And if it's not, then what can be done to tweak it? Many a times we have potential clients coming to us who don't know what's their marketing doing for them. There's no transparency of data. They don't know what metrics to watch out for. So by the way of this episode, I really want to demystify that, and I really want to bring to you how to assess for yourself if your marketing spend is reaping you any rewards, and are you getting your money's worth. All right, so let's take a deep dive. But before I go into the digital marketing metrics, let's make an understanding for some of our listeners to say that technology is evolving, and from traditional marketing to digital marketing, a lot has changed over the years. Traditional marketing, it was hard to measure any of the impact unless somebody came in with a flyer to say, hey, I want this offer, right? Or somebody called you to say, hey, I saw your ad on TV or radio and I want to get this. So it's still hard to have a more, I would say, specific metric around it. But again, your sales number would have showed you if you were more of a traditional marketer. But now that you've evolved into digital marketing landscape, the metrics that you should be measuring with each of the tactic differ, right? Some digital marketing techniques are more active. Some digital marketing techniques are more passive, right? But they're, again, with an intent to generate either a more brand influence for you. It could be to generate leads. It could be to engage your existing customers. Again, depends on the tactic and depends on the overall strategy and what your goals are. So let's talk a little bit about what are the active strategies or active digital marketing techniques that I consider active. So active would be something that gets you an immediate return on marketing, such as a paid advertising campaign. It could be a paid advertising campaign on social media, or it could be on Google or any other search platform. And these tactics, for example, paid tactic has an immediate return on your marketing investment. You can see and track that metric return from within a week to a few days, and it can go as long as you want. But again, with a passive marketing technique, such as an email marketing, you could still measure the click-through rates. A good offer in an email, you could really test it out within a few days, especially if it's a time-sensitive offer. So it could be both active and passive. But in a case of a search engine optimization campaign, there's a long haul, there's a long-term strategy. So the metrics that you measure for your SEO investment might be a little bit different than, in fact, a lot more different than your paid advertising campaign. But in the end, when SEO starts to work, it could become more of an active strategy for you, right? So talking about KPIs, talking about metrics, I want to also encourage you to say, while you're looking at your active and passive strategies, be able to also kind of, set key performance indicators for maybe, a campaign to say, okay, we will see and monitor the impact of this campaign for the next 90 days. For majority of our clients at Measure Marketing, we look at a 90-day kind of a quarterly plan and say set metrics to achieve those plans. And then if you've met them or exceeded them, that's great. But if you have kind of fallen short on some of those, then we want to understand and say what kind of acceleration strategies we need for the next 90 days to meet or exceed those goals, right? So the metrics that you want to measure will differ, as I said, for every activity. And one of the things that I want to bring to you is, at the end of the day, metrics could be metrics, but you have to have an overarching strategy. You need to know what exactly are you going to, what does success look like? if you've implemented a paid advertising campaign, what would that success look like? Because that success is going to determine what are the key performance indicators for that campaign. So for some of our clients, the success of a paid advertising search campaign is we definitely want more click-through rates. We want conversions, which is a bigger metric than, a click-through rate. But at the end of the day, if you don't have clicks, you will not have conversions. So there's a certain point of conversions that we say we want about 8% conversions from this kind of an ad campaign at the max. But if you land with, like, say, 6%, we're happy. But if you get 2% with all the competition in certain industries, we may not be overly happy. But then this is a starting point. How can we improve from 2% to 3%, by optimizing our ads, optimizing our landing pages, or optimizing our ad copies, graphics, if they're kind of more like a banner ad campaign or more like a display ad campaign. So again, this all depends on what kind of campaign you are, but definitely for an active campaign, you want to look at your conversion rate, and you also want to look at the cost per acquisition for that lead, because at the end of the day, if you have a lead acquisition cost of, let's say, $100, and you're only selling a product of $150, that's a really, like, no margin. You might be just bringing them in for free product, right? And depending upon what you do and what your company does, that may be a really an awful return on investment. And if you're spending $100 and you're getting, let's say, a sale of about $1,000 and with a gross margin of about 70%, so that's $700. But you've already spent $100. So kind of, look at your numbers more deeply and say, what's the return on my marketing ad dollar for that particular sale? And what is the lifetime value associated with it? Because many companies we work with, there is a lifetime value associated with a new business that comes through the gates, as we work majority of the times with business to business companies. So there's a lifetime value associated with it. And with each of those sales, the CLV, the customer lifetime value, is also part of the return on ad spend kind of metric that we look at. So think about those numbers, not just from a superficial level of what the lead cost was, but also what could be a potential of that lead if we do a good job of serving the customer, and what's the lifetime value of that customer, CLV, that you want to look at. At the same time, for example, from a search engine optimization campaign, I know it's a long-term strategy, but many sophisticated softwares will tell you when you start ranking on page 1 of Google or any other search engine, the amount of traffic that's coming to your site, what's the value of that traffic. Now, why is that important? Because imagine if you were not doing any SEO. You were doing only paid advertising. So it's like, running the tap. You run the tap and you get the water. And similarly, you spend the money and you get your ads showing up. But you're constantly spending money with search engines or social media channels to show your ad and show your brand. Whereas with SEO, it's a long-term strategy. But still, when you start showing up on page 1 or, your featured snippets or your voice searches, you're bringing a whole lot of traffic. What's the cost of that traffic? What is the value of that traffic? You want to measure that, because if you were to spend dollars to bring the same amount of traffic, what would you be spending? What would have been your cost? So you definitely want to add that dollar to the search engine optimization campaign and say, at the end of the year, when we start ranking for X number of keywords, we spent, let's say, $30,000 in an SEO campaign, and now the traffic that we're getting is almost the value of, let's say, $75,000. That's a great ROI. All you now have to worry about is how do you convert that traffic into meaningful leads and sales. Again, I want to go back and kind of, spend a little bit more time on the leads aspect of it, because many a time leads are considered as 2 types of leads. I've talked about it previously also as a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead, right? So when you look at let's say your metric is lead generation, how many leads we generated through a paid advertising campaign or an SEO campaign, you want to look at, what kind of lead did you generate? Do you have any benchmarks before you get into investing into these ad campaigns to say, as a result of this investment in the first 90 days, we only expect to generate top of the funnel leads, which is the marketing qualified leads, which are not sales ready yet, which means that they are going to download an ebook or a PDF, or they're going to engage on our gallery. They're going to listen to or subscribe to our blog or video blog or a podcast such as this. And that's a marketing qualified lead, right? But once this marketing qualified lead raises their hand and says, hey, listen, I want to learn more about your services, then that becomes a sales ready lead. And they might call you, or they might go on and just fill out a form on your website. And that's the sales qualified lead that you have. So having that differentiation is very important. And that could be one of the other metrics that you're looking at on a monthly basis to say, how many marketing qualified leads did we generate? And how many sales qualified leads did we generate? And now how do we turn those marketing qualified leads into sales qualified leads over a period of time? So again, every advertising or marketing tactic needs its own level of key performance indicators. And what you need to do is look at it from a standpoint of, how do you measure them? How do you kind of continue to grow those numbers to get to where you really want to get to, right? As I said, did you have a social media paid advertising campaign? Then the metrics might be different, because it's all about the reach. It's all about maybe, page likes that you want to get to, or maybe engagement with your content. So again, support your KPIs based on what does success look like. And then each company has their own metrics. Of course, some of the metrics are common, but again, each to their own, right? What kind of investments are you making, and what kind of return on marketing will make sense for you is dependent on what you are doing and what your market, how your market, I would say, adjusts to that kind of marketing spend or those marketing messages. So again, you want to measure your marketing dollars and see that as an investment, because if the moment you start to see your marketing as a spend, your focus may shift. Now, I'm not saying that to keep burning your money, keep spending into tactics that are not delivering returns. So obviously, this is a calculated risk. But again, that is the entire premise of this podcast, to understand what does success look like. And in order for us to measure the success, what are the key performance indicators that we're going to look at to be able to say, great, this campaign was successful, this test was successful. And I always say that marketing measurement is key. Not many companies do it right. So definitely find a partner who thrives on it, somebody who kind of, loves doing measurement, because most agencies might end up just going woohoo, woohoo, and, kind of, give you rankings and that vanity metrics that may be good, but not, good enough to make more data-driven decisions. So you definitely want to not just look at the vanity metrics. You want to look at really where the rubber hits the road and get to that from a future planning standpoint as well. So data dictates how you invest your marketing budgets, how do you forecast your marketing budgets, and how do you optimize them, right? So take a moment to invest in that. And again, as I talked about, each metric is different. So we've talked about SEO metrics, pay-per-click metrics. And to kind of give you a little bit more insight into the SEO metrics, I'd say, ranking growth is important metric, but are you ranking for the right keywords is very important. And what kind of those keywords what kind of traffic those key phrases are bringing back to your site. So you want to measure the traffic, but you also want to measure the impact of that traffic, right, from a conversion standpoint. So kind of think of that in coordination and kind of, ties together. But also from an SEO standpoint, you always want to be looking at your bounce rate. Reduction in a bounce rate is a great metric to kind of focus on, to see how you can have more people stay longer on your website. One of our clients says, Arti, your job's to bring me the ducks, and I want to make sure, actually, your job and your team's job is to bring me the right kind of ducks, and it's our job to shoot them unless you have an automation built into it and then you support that. So make sure that you're bringing in the right kind of ducks to your website, and the right kind of traffic will definitely help you convert better and reduce that bounce rate. So for those of you who are not as familiar with bounce rate is when someone comes to your website and within the first few seconds, they don't go past that first page. So that's considered as a bounce rate. So you can definitely monitor that through analytics. Google Analytics is great, free tool. I also want to encourage you to use Tag Manager, and Google has tagging options for events. When somebody clicks on a button or somebody clicks on, a specific piece of content, and then you can start to track your traffic across all your digital activities and scale your marketing dollars for a higher return on marketing as well. So I'll be covering about email metrics in another podcast on email marketing, which will be coming soon. So watch out for that. But for today's search engine marketing metrics, these are the two tactics that are commonly used by small businesses. And I wanted to make sure that you understand the importance of measuring your marketing data. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. And the next action item I want to leave you with is to look at your analytics and ensure that you're measuring your marketing, and you have a proven system to be able to go from point A to point B and understand and have a holistic approach to your marketing spend. You're also measuring meaningful metrics. You're not just measuring vanity metrics like traffic and impressions. You're actually looking at click-through rates and conversions, and you're also kind of having a watertight, I would say, system to have that monitoring process on a regular basis. So do not lose track of your numbers, and make a note in your calendar to kind of review your marketing metrics on a regular basis. A standing meeting with your team is a good way, or having that tiger time on your calendar for marketing metrics data might be more helpful as well. So take a moment to take that one little action, as I always say, because at the end of the day, those little actions lead to big results. And if you're looking for help on how do you measure your marketing spend, or kind of have an idea, or you want a second opinion on your campaigns, we're happy to help. Our team is certified by Digital Marketer to measure your marketing spend. We're Digital Marketer certified partners and also Digital Marketer certified trainers. And we're happy and thrilled to be having that conversation with you. If you're interested, you can simply reach us at www.measuremarketing.net, and you will get a lot of data-driven approaches and ideas, because at our agency, we love anything that requires measurement and numbers. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to have a conversation about your marketing. And until then, keep crushing it and keep fueling your marketing. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again.
Thank you for listening to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. For more episodes, visit www.fuelyourmarketing.com.